It is now extremely likely, if not a virtual certainty, that in the next 5 to 10 years, perhaps sooner, the U.S. military is going to find itself in a place where it is boxed in with absolutely no other option than to raise the white flag of surrender and retreat. Now, I know it sounds like heresy to a lot of folks from Gen X and older. It's almost something we could have never imagined. But the situation now is that dire. There are two brand new stories out on Army Times that are alluding to this. Basically, what the U.S. military is saying in a nutshell is that unless they are allowed to lie, deceive, and commit fraud, they will not be able to field a military that can deal with peer-to-peer threats. They won't have the numbers. The biggest challenge they're facing right now is social media and prospective soldiers, now civilians, learning the truth of what they are capable of and what they would really be signing up for. The youth of this country, the new generation, new breed of who would be soldiers, they're turning their backs en masse. Not because they're not patriotic, but because they realize the contract that they would have to sign is horribly one-sided and is unenforceable from their end. There's absolutely nothing in it for them other than to be used and perhaps, lose their life. Now, this is something that a lot of people don't think about when they think about being in the military, joining the military, the U.S. military, that it's just this ethereal thing out there that's this giant dome that will always protect us all. And it just exists out there and nobody can stand against it because that's the way things have always been. Well, it's very shortly not going to be the case, and the military is admitting it now. Battlefield of the mind. Would like to say thank you, as always. God bless all of you who have joined us over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. We got a brand new video up a couple days ago. It's taken off like gangbusters. A lot of folks very interested in the topic of how to use your mind to defend yourself. How to be able to see through things that other people can't. It's only $1 per month. That's it. There's hundreds and hundreds of videos, hours and hours and hours of content. First 3 months, fully refundable. First 90 days. No questions asked. You would be hard-pressed to, even in 90 days, go through all of the content over there. Never before seen on YouTube. Love to have you. God bless all of you. Thank you so much for signing up. Something I think a lot of folks are going to want to avail themselves of. Now, what are the two stories? 3 minutes, 11 seconds in. What are the stories? Here's the first one. This one would probably go right by people and they wouldn't even think about it. Army vet accused of faking paralysis after base attack goes on trial. Now, we've seen over the last year or so a lot of stolen valor, a lot of people who actually did do things that were wrong. But the title of this article could almost get the writer of it in trouble for libel and slander because the paralysis was not faked. And that's provable in the story. I can't believe they even allowed the title to be written. This is from, real quick, 19 June 2024. A trial began this week in the case of an Army veteran from Maryland who is accused of obtaining more than $767,000 in VA disability benefits by falsely claiming he was a paraplegic. Well, guess what? He was a paraplegic, just not permanently. William Rich faces 5 counts of wire fraud and 1 count of theft of government property. According to court documents, a 2021 indictment alleges that Rich, quote, engaged in a scheme to defraud wherein he feigned paralysis while attending VA medical appointments and made false statements to the VA that he was confined to a wheelchair in order to receive disability compensation and other benefits. Well, you see, there's a twist to the story. And this is what the military doesn't want you to know. This is the part they're hoping you would have stopped reading by now to see. According to the indictment, Rich was injured when a bomb detonated inside a dining facility when he was serving in Baquba, Iraq. The injuries occurred when a concrete wall fell on Rich after the explosion. The Department of Veteran Affairs rated him 100% disabled due to the loss of use of both lower extremities. But approximately 6 weeks after his injuries, as a result of very intensive physical therapy, that you see, this is the part they don't read. As a result of incredibly intensive physical therapy that the soldier was not required to go through, that he went through of his own volition, with no help from the military, he began to make substantial progress toward recovery and regained of his own volition, on his own effort and his own merits. He was no longer paralyzed. The case serves an example of attempts to hold individuals accountable, blah, 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 aid, all this, 2018 VA Office of Inspector General. Once again, surveillance, just like we were talking about yesterday, had to hire investigators and all this kind of stuff that showed that he was able to move around. The military didn't do this. He did. You see, once he got his rating, once he got his 100% disabled due to the loss of use of both lower extremities, there is absolutely no rule in the military that said that he had to then go and do physical therapy and try to the very best of his ability to regain the use of his legs. If he had wanted to, he could have just rolled around in a wheelchair for the rest of his life as a result of his time in the military and the injuries he did receive. He was paralyzed for 6 weeks as a result of, I guess you could call it, negligence on behalf of the military, since they couldn't protect a soldier while he was eating in a chow hall. They couldn't protect the soldier while he was eating in a chow hall. And because of his own strength of character, he decided, not having to, not needing to, he never signed a piece of paper stating that if ever injured, he would do everything he could to recover from the injury. Of his own volition, he regained the use of his legs. And they took pictures of him, and they gave him money. Now, the amount of money they're going after, and his attorney said, this man's a patriot, this man's a hero. And I'll also tell you what he's not. He's not an actor, and he's not guilty. And in this case, I have to tend to agree. You see, they're trying to get him for $767,000. Now, think about this in the context of, let's say this happened in a civilian setting. Let's say that he had joined Amazon for some reason, and he was sitting in a dining facility at his job at Amazon, and for some reason the wall next to him fell down and fell on him and paralyzed him for 6 weeks. How much money do you think he would be getting from Amazon for the rest of his life? I guarantee it would be a lot more than $767,000 measly dollars. This is just an example. Partially paralyzed athlete seeks $4.6 million from doctor in a hospital, and he's only partially paralyzed, and the guy's standing right there. This guy was knocked out in a wheelchair in a war zone. And they're trying to scrape back and claw back a measly $750,000 when they're spending how many billions trying to put a train on the moon? But you see, this is the key. Kids are watching this. Kids are watching this and going, you know what? Screw that. This guy went over and above, went through all sorts of incredibly painful physical therapy of his own volition that he didn't have to. He could have said, you know what? That's it. I'm done. I'm in a wheelchair. I've got my 100% VA rating. If you get a 100% disability VA rating, you're pretty much set for life. You're going to get all sorts of freebies, all sorts of perks. His legs didn't come back to working all on their own, magically out of nowhere. He brought them back, not the military. But this is the key. So social media, among many barriers to bringing back a draft, you see, they don't believe, the military doesn't believe they're going to be able to get away with it. They war gamed this, and they tried to figure out how many they would need if there were a shooting war in Taiwan, or if they had to go into Ukraine with U.S. troops, or whatever, and it failed miserably because of all of the lawsuits about they're not drafting women. And once again, if you want to fail in the military, it's not hard. If you want to fail in the military, it's not hard. You just miss everything on rifle range day. They can't make you hit a damn thing. They can't make you pass a PT test. This guy, and this is the irony of all ironies, this guy actually brought himself back of his own volition. He should have been getting VA benefits for the rest of his life because of what they did to him, because he couldn't sue for pain and suffering and emotional damage. Don't get me started on those numbers. Those numbers would have been in the tens of millions of dollars in the civilian side. And this guy, who actually got himself back to the point where he could probably serve again, now they're trying to make him go broke and try to make him out like he's some kind of a thief and some kind of a scam artist, when he would be a perfect example for soldiers. To say, look, even when things get this bad, you can come back. But no, what are they trying to do? What are they trying to do? They're trying to break the guy. And all these, I tell you what, they're all watching. They're all of the young people that would be signing up for the military, they're reading these stories. They're talking to their friends. See, right now, the military is basically saying, like I led off with, unless we can somehow defraud, lie, cheat, subvert, misinform possible recruits, possible trainees, just to get them to sign that piece of paper to get them in, unless we have the ability to do that, and they don't know the truth about us, we're screwed. If that's the state of your military, you're done. You're toast. And that's where we're at right now. And nobody's really talking about it. I mean, it's one of these things that I think it's going to hit a lot of Americans like a ton of bricks, right in the face. They'll be like, how did this happen? I thought we had the greatest military, blah, 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 blah. All those toys, all those tools, the F-22 and the aircraft carriers and all this missile this and all that. Silliness. If you ain't got people, it's not going to work. So, once again, I will leave it there. Battlefield of mine. God bless. Pray for each other. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. Join us on Patreon. Love to have you there. Like, share, subscribe. It's only $1. It's only $1. See you guys next time.